Georgia checks in at number 2 for USA Today in the post-spring countdown that they've got on their outlet. They've got Alabama number 1, Georgia number 2, and Ohio State 3, Oklahoma 4, Clemson Tigers 5, with Utah at number 6. What do you think about that? I mean, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit here. I It is curious to see Georgia as the 2 and not the 3, to be honest. Here's what USA Today had to say about Georgia after the spring, heading into this fall. It said quarterback uncertainty loomed until Stetson Bennett decided to return, causing JT Daniels to transfer to West Virginia and pushing off a battle between backups Carson Beck and Brock Vandagriff for another season. Running back should be fine with Kendall Milton and Kenny McIntosh taking over duties. Brock Bowers is a star tight end, and the offensive line looks promising. The losses are huge on defense, especially in the front seven. Watching the NFL draft highlighted that. However, Kirby Smart has plenty of elite recruits waiting to step in and join veterans Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. The same script from last year could unfold: an unbeaten regular season and a loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Okay, I mean, I don't think that's out of the question at all. I think most people think that Georgia is in pretty good position to have a good 2020. It's kind of curious here. So it looks like Georgia moved up past Ohio State into the number 2 spot. Look, to me, number 1, 2, and 3, they've not changed. They're not gonna change. I think everything after that. Let me read you the rest of it. So it went Bama 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Oklahoma 4, Clemson 5, Utah 6. Now we can talk about Utah a little bit because they've got the Gators right out of the gate. Michigan 7. Texas A&M 8, BYU at 9, and NC State at 10. Some of these teams are not like the others, okay? And I understand we're gonna just kind of go in hard on NC State. I gotta see it first. Like, they didn't even win the division. They beat Clemson. I think it was an overtime or whatever. It was a tight game. Yada yada. I got to see it from NC State before I'm believing it. All right. I don't need to see them in the top 10. But hey, we're just going to let's just roll with it, right? I got criticisms everywhere. BYU, I mean, they're not a real challenge to win anything significant. They are not in a legitimate conference. Their schedule is does not permit them to really compete at a high level for. I mean, they haven't even been in a New Year's Six bowl game, but they do have the capability of knocking out some Pac-12 teams. That doesn't that doesn't mean anything to me. But you got Utah sitting right there, and can Utah, be good enough that it matters? I don't know, but they don't. I see now they don't play Utah. Okay, this is their schedule. It's not the end of the world. Baylor, who is good, Oregon, Notre Dame, Arkansas. You got to go undefeated, and even then, I don't know that they're gonna really get a shot to do anything. But that I give it up for a BYU, man. They definitely schedule their balls off. I'm just going to say it. Texas A&M at 8. Everybody has them in the top 5. I mean, I think people are starting to smell, or in the past they've had. I'm not a giant believer of. They're in the same ballpark as NC State for me. I mean, you've had one good season in the last 5. Okay, good. Michigan at 7. I think there's a lot that returns for Michigan. That's a solid team. Utah again. If they go down there and beat Florida, everybody's going to pay attention. My suspicion is they should beat the Gators, even though it's in Gainesville. Okay, I think there's just so much change for Florida right now that it's not an ideal situation for the Gators. Let me stop right now and make sure that I'm on the Clemson, because Clemson and Georgia opened up. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. Y'all have really supported us. The number one way to support us is by checking DAWGSTRUCTION out. Running low. Make sure you get these before I have to order. Well, I did order another set. Before that set gets in here, it's a delay, yada, yada. Father's Day, graduation, or just for yourself. If you want me to sign it, you need to email me, dean@dogpost.com. Clemson at 5. You know, Clemson, their over/under is 10. They're not going to be the number 5 team in the country if they've got 2 losses in the regular season. That's not going to happen. So something's not right there. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm a bigger believer in Clemson than I am in NC State. NC State's got to show it. NC State's got to go to Clemson to win that game. There's not a lot of other trouble spots for Clemson. Of course, this is going off the top of my head. Besides Notre Dame. Now, the end of Clemson's schedule is more challenging than you perhaps would like. They got Carolina at the end, Notre Dame and Pittsburgh are all kind of in that end area, and I think Florida State is the Halloween and after time. So we will learn more about Clemson as the season goes on. Does that mean that that Dabo makes a move at quarterback? I don't know. Look, putting Oklahoma as the 4. Everybody I've just talked about, they are not on the same universe coming into this season as Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama. They're just not. And if I can figure out ways for those teams to beat Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. I can, could NC State beat Ohio State? And in no world would that happen. So, that comes to the question of, are any of those teams likely to beat the top 3 teams? My suspicion is no. I think the curious over/under for Las Vegas would be, what's the over/under on total losses for Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State in this season. Ohio State opens with Notre Dame. Again, going off the top of my head. Alabama has the usual challenge in the West. Okay, let's not act like that's easy to deal with. We don't know if LSU is suddenly going to become good. Okay, we don't know if Texas A&M is finally going to reach their potential or approach their potential and get something done that way. We don't know. I don't know. I am skeptical of that. But it's tougher in the West. There's no question about that. For Georgia, I mean, an undefeated season is not out of the question. Yeah, you have to start with Oregon. You have the usual challenging games with Alabama, excuse me, with Auburn, Freudian slip, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky will be a challenge, but then you're always going to have to deal with Alabama at the end of the season if they get to Atlanta. These 2 teams are the most powerful teams in the league, and that's why it seems pretty evident to me that having Georgia 1, 2, 3 with Ohio State and Alabama makes sense. The order, I would probably have Georgia as the 3, not the 2, but that's me, and that's not going Larry Munson. Now, with that said, Georgia whipped Michigan's ass, right? And Michigan beat Ohio State up pretty good. That gives me cause for concern for Ohio State and the Big Ten, but I would probably start the season Bama 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, and just take it from there. That's me.